Rottweilers have one of the toughest reputations in the entire dog world. They're powerful, confident, protective, and they often look like they're evaluating every decision you've made in your life. If you've never spent much time around a Rottweiler, you'd probably imagine a serious dog that spends all day guarding property and intimidating strangers. Rottweiler owners usually find that idea hilarious, because while these dogs can absolutely be strong and confident, they also have a side that surprises a lot of people. A very soft side. The kind of side that wants attention, follows family members around the house, and somehow forgets that it's much too large to fit comfortably on a human lap. In fact, one of the funniest things about Rottweilers is how different they often are from the image people have in their heads. The reputation says one thing. The dog says something completely different. So today we're talking about why Rottweilers are actually Softies, and why some of the toughest-looking dogs in the world are often giant babies behind closed doors. Before we start, make sure to check out our selected and recommended products linked down below. 1. Their reputation doesn't match their personality. One of the biggest reasons people misunderstand Rottweilers is because their appearance creates expectations before they've even done anything. And honestly, it's easy to see why. These are powerful dogs, broad shoulders, strong build, confident posture. Everything about them says, "I take my responsibilities seriously." And to be fair, many Rottweilers do. But that's only part of the story. Because once people actually spend time around them, they're often surprised by what they find. The intimidating dog they expected turns out to be affectionate, playful, sometimes goofy, and often much more interested in spending time with its family than looking intimidating. Owners see this reaction all the time. Visitors arrive expecting a serious guard dog. A few minutes later, they're meeting a dog that mostly wants attention and possibly snacks. What's funny is that Rottweilers don't seem particularly interested in maintaining their tough image. The humans are the ones doing that. The Rottweiler is usually busy trying to figure out whether somebody is available for petting, and that's where the disconnect begins. People see the muscles. Owners see the personality. People see a powerful dog. Owners see a dog that follows them from room to room because it doesn't want to be left out of the conversation. And honestly, that's what makes the breed so interesting. The reputation isn't completely wrong. Rottweilers are confident, strong, protective, but those traits often exist right alongside affection, loyalty, and a surprisingly soft emotional side, which means that for many first-time visitors, meeting a Rottweiler can feel a little confusing. The dog looks like a bodyguard. The dog acts like it wants to join the family movie night. And honestly, that's a combination most people aren't expecting. 2. They get attached to their people fast. One of the biggest surprises for people who have never owned a Rottweiler is how attached these dogs become to their families. Because despite their tough reputation, many Rottweilers are incredibly people-oriented. They don't just want to live in the same house as their owners. They want to participate in whatever is happening, at all times. And honestly, that's where the giant softie reputation starts coming from. A lot of people expect an independent guard dog. What they get is a very large shadow. Owners know exactly what this looks like. You stand up. The Rottweiler stands up. You walk into another room. The Rottweiler follows. You go to the kitchen. The Rottweiler suddenly has important business in the kitchen too. Coincidence? Probably not. These dogs form incredibly strong bonds with the people they trust. And once that bond develops, they often want to stay close. Very close. Sometimes closer than necessary. What's funny is that Rottweilers rarely seem to understand the concept of personal space. The dog weighs 100 pounds. The dog sees a couch. The dog sees an owner. The dog concludes that everyone should occupy the exact same location, immediately. And honestly, this surprises a lot of people because it doesn't match the image most outsiders have of the breed. People imagine a serious dog standing guard in the yard. Owners are dealing with a dog that wants to supervise laundry, watch television together, and accompany them to the bathroom for reasons nobody fully understands. It's almost like the Rottweiler believes the family operates more efficiently under direct supervision, and because they're so loyal, they often become deeply invested in the people around them. They notice routines, they notice moods, they notice when something feels different, which is one reason so many owners describe them as emotionally connected dogs. Not just protective, connected. The result is a breed that often forms incredibly strong relationships with its family. Relationships that are built on trust, loyalty, and a surprising amount of affection, which is exactly why so many first-time Rottweiler owners end up saying the same thing. The dog looked intimidating. The dog turned out to be a giant baby. 3. They think they're lap dogs. One of the funniest things about Rottweilers is that nobody ever seems to tell them how big they are. And honestly, they don't appear interested in finding out. A Rottweiler can weigh over 100 pounds and still behave like a puppy that belongs in somebody's lap. The dog sees a couch. The dog sees a human. The dog immediately develops a plan. Unfortunately, the plan usually ignores several important laws of physics. Owners know exactly what this looks like. You're sitting comfortably. The Rottweiler approaches. The Rottweiler turns around. And suddenly a dog the size of a small bear is attempting to become a decorative pillow. What's funny is that they often seem genuinely confused when people react. From the Rottweiler's perspective, this arrangement is perfectly reasonable. The human exists. The lap exists. Problem solved. And honestly, this complete lack of size awareness is a huge part of their charm because it creates a hilarious contrast. Everything about the dog looks intimidating. The muscles, the size, the powerful build. Then 5 minutes later, the same dog is desperately trying to sit on somebody's feet because it wants attention. It's hard to maintain a tough guy image when you're acting like an oversized teddy bear. What's especially funny is that many Rottweilers continue this behavior well into adulthood. Most dogs eventually become aware of their size. Rottweilers often seem committed to ignorance. The dog is enormous. The dog does not care. If anything, the dog becomes even more convinced that physical closeness is the correct solution to every situation. Feeling happy, sit on owner. Feeling tired, sit near owner. Feeling uncertain, sit on owner. Need attention. You can probably guess the strategy. And because they're such affectionate dogs, they often use physical contact as a way of staying connected to their families. A paw on your leg, a giant head in your lap, a full-body lean that nearly knocks you off balance. The dog simply wants to be close, very close, sometimes aggressively close, which is exactly why so many Rottweiler owners end up laughing at the breed's reputation. Because the same dog that looks like it should be guarding a fortress is usually trying to cuddle with enough enthusiasm to cause structural damage to the furniture. And honestly, that's not the behavior most people expect from a dog that looks that serious. Don't forget to check out our selected and recommended products. They might just be the perfect tools to make your life easier when it comes to caring for your pawed friend. 4. They're more sensitive than people. Expect. One of the biggest misconceptions about Rottweilers is that people assume they're emotionally tough simply because they're physically tough. And honestly, those are not the same thing at all. A lot of Rottweilers are surprisingly sensitive dogs. They pay attention to tone. They pay attention to mood. They pay attention to how the people they love are feeling. And because of that, they often react more emotionally than people expect. Owners notice this all the time. You praise a Rottweiler and the dog lights up. You make a training session fun and the dog becomes fully invested. But if you sound disappointed, the dog notices immediately. What's funny is that many Rottweilers seem to take criticism much harder than their appearance would suggest. A stranger looking at the dog might think, that animal looks completely fearless. Meanwhile, the Rottweiler is still emotionally recovering from being told to get off the couch 20 minutes ago. The contrast is hilarious. And honestly, it's one reason so many owners describe them as soft-hearted, because beneath all the confidence is a dog that genuinely cares about its relationship with its family. These dogs don't just want food and exercise. They want approval. They want connection. They want to feel included. And when that connection feels disrupted, many Rottweilers notice. What's especially interesting is how aware they can be of human emotions. A lot of owners swear their Rottweiler knows when somebody is upset. The dog becomes calmer, stays closer, pays more attention. Now, are they reading minds? Probably not, but they are extremely observant, and observant dogs often seem almost psychic. This sensitivity is one reason Rottweilers tend to form such strong bonds. They're not just sharing a house with their people, they're paying attention to them, learning their habits, learning their emotions, learning what matters. And honestly, that's a side of the breed that outsiders rarely see. People notice the muscles, the strength, the intimidating appearance. Owners notice the dog that gets its feelings hurt when somebody forgets to say hello, which is exactly why so many Rottweiler owners laugh when people describe the breed as emotionless, because the dog they're describing is usually one of the biggest softies in the entire house. 5. They want to protect, not intimidate. One reason Rottweilers are often misunderstood is that people see protective behavior and immediately assume the dog is trying to be intimidating. But honestly, most Rottweilers aren't focused on intimidation. They're focused on their people. And there's a big difference. Historically, Rottweilers were working dogs. They helped move livestock, protected property, worked closely with humans. Their job wasn't to scare everyone they met. Their job was to take responsibility seriously, and modern Rottweilers still carry a lot of that mindset. Owners see it all the time. The dog notices visitors. The dog notices unusual situations. The dog notices when something feels different, not because it's looking for trouble, because paying attention is simply part of its nature. What's interesting is that many Rottweilers are actually quite calm about it. A lot of people imagine a dog that's constantly looking for conflict. In reality, a well-socialized Rottweiler is often surprisingly relaxed. Confident dogs rarely feel the need to prove anything, and honestly, confidence is one of the breed's strongest traits. The Rottweiler doesn't usually walk into a room thinking, "How do I impress everyone?" The Rottweiler walks into a room thinking, "Everything appears normal," and then proceeds to monitor the situation anyway, just in case. What's funny is that this protective instinct often extends far beyond security. Many Rottweilers become protective of family routines, family members, even other pets. The dog develops a sense of responsibility whether anyone asked for it or not. And because they're so attached to their families, that responsibility often comes from affection rather than aggression. The dog cares. The dog notices. The dog wants everybody to be okay. It's actually a much softer motivation than many people expect. That's why so many owners describe their Rottweilers as gentle giants, strong enough to be intimidating, but usually much more interested in looking after the people they love. And honestly, that's where the breed's reputation and reality often collide. People see a powerful dog and assume protection comes from toughness. Owners know that a lot of it comes from loyalty, and those are very different things. 6. Why Rottweiler owners become obsessed with the breed. After spending enough time around Rottweiler owners, you start noticing a pattern. They absolutely love talking about their dogs, and honestly, once you understand the breed, it's easy to see why. Because Rottweilers create a strange combination that's hard to find elsewhere. They're strong without being reckless, confident without being chaotic, protective without constantly looking for conflict. And underneath all of that, they're often incredibly affectionate. It's a combination that catches people by surprise. Many owners get a Rottweiler expecting a capable, dependable dog. What they don't always expect is how emotionally attached they become, because these dogs have a way of becoming deeply woven into daily life. The Rottweiler follows you around, pays attention to your routines, wants to be involved in what you're doing, and over time the dog starts feeling less like a pet and more like a family member with very strong opinions. What's especially interesting is how much trust matters to them. Once a Rottweiler bonds with somebody, that relationship often becomes incredibly strong. The loyalty feels genuine. The affection feels genuine. And because they're not always as openly friendly with strangers as breeds like Golden Retrievers, that bond can feel even more meaningful. The dog isn't trying to impress everybody. The dog cares about its people. And honestly, owners love that. They love the confidence, they love the reliability, they love the feeling that the dog is always paying attention, even when nobody asked it to. Of course, living with a Rottweiler isn't perfect. The dog is large, strong, occasionally convinced that personal space is a myth. But for most owners, those things become part of the charm. Because once they get past the reputation, they discover something completely different. A dog that's loyal, sensitive, affectionate, and much softer than people expect, which is exactly why so many Rottweiler owners end up becoming lifelong fans of the breed. The dog may look tough, but the personality is usually what wins people over. So, are Rottweilers actually softies? Honestly, a lot of them are. Beneath the muscles, the confidence, and the intimidating reputation is often a dog that's deeply attached to its family, surprisingly sensitive, and completely convinced that it belongs as close to its favorite humans as physically possible. They're loyal, protective, affectionate, and often much more emotional than people expect. The funny thing is that none of those qualities cancel out their strength. A Rottweiler can be powerful and gentle, confident and affectionate, protective and incredibly loving. And that's exactly why so many people misunderstand them. People notice the appearance first. Owners get to know the personality. And once you see that side of the breed, it's hard not to understand why Rottweiler owners become so devoted. Because behind one of the toughest reputations in the dog world is often a giant dog that just wants to spend time with the people it loves. And honestly, that's a pretty soft way to live. Don't forget to check out our selected and recommended products. They might just be the perfect tools to make your life easier when it comes to caring for your pawed friend.